And as the world embraces technology and artificial intelligence, there's also the need to understand how these will work for local needs, adapting to cultural context and prioritizing the daily need and tasks that need to be infused into all of this. That's what we're going to discuss next with Mayokun Ogunbola. She's a product designer, joins us virtually to discuss the future of product designing in emerging market. Joins us from the UK. Hi, Mayokun. Good afternoon and welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to be here.
Great. So we talk about AI adoption, technology, every platform everywhere, but I guess it is very important not to miss the fact that all of this are supposed to make living, working easier. Would you say that it's being infused into our daily work, talking about solving challenges maybe in the African tech ecosystem, for instance?
Yes, I do think so, especially with design thinking. I think it is particularly powerful in emerging markets, like in the Nigerian space and in the African space, because we're looking about human-centered solutions, and that is exactly what we need. In Africa, we have very unique challenges because it's very diverse, it's fast-moving, there is resource constraints, and so we need to think about the local context of everything. The African user base is diverse, not just in language, but in access to resources and in technology. And with using design thinking, we can deeply understand the user's needs. So whether they're in a city with good internet access or in a rural area with no electricity. And also this approach encourages empathy. And so we get to the heart of the frustrations, the desires, the realities of the users. So if we think about platforms like Chowdeck, Pharmacy, Flutterwave, and other companies using tech to solve problems in different ecosystems, they've had to tackle some very unique challenges also. And we're also talking about iteration and testing and collaboration, which is very crucial because the ecosystem is evolving, like you said, with AI and all of that. And we need to bring diverse perspectives together. So I think it's really helpful in solving Africa's tech challenges, and also will help us create solutions that would adapt to our real needs, and also developing and fostering a deeper connection for users of the product.
Yeah, so you talked about the uniqueness of Africa. What are some of those unique features that, I mean, individuals like yourself, product designing, that you infuse or you think should be infused into products that can be easily adapted, to Africans? So you look at our uniqueness, our culture, and our own special challenges that we have on the continent.
Yes, so like localizing the user experience of the people using the product is not only a design strategy, but also an economic strategy. And it can make a difference between a product that would thrive or a product that would fail. For instance, we deal with very expensive and unreliable internet access. So if your app, for instance, is heavy and requires constant high internet speed, people simply won't use it. And so creating apps and platforms that optimize for low data usage is a win. For instance, Facebook Lite, which was designed for markets with slow internet so that they can use less data, less storage. And another unique challenge is the multilingual culture in Africa. We have over 2,000 languages, and many products only launch with English and French. And that creates a huge accessibility gap. So there was this study by Kudi, which is now Number, which is a fintech company in Nigeria, and they showed that when they introduced more localized onboarding systems, their adoption rates skyrocketed, and people felt that the product was designed for them, and so they trusted it more. So at the core of everything is a simple truth that if people cannot access and understand your products, they won't use it. So businesses that prioritize localization in whatever way can tap into a massive underserved market. So it's not just about good design, but how good design helps with economic growth and business sustainability.
Very interesting. I like, the language one and then the low bandwidth, because the truth is, on the continent, we're still dealing with internet penetration. But I,
Yeah.
I ask, these products, are they produced or initiated by Africans always be, you mentioned Facebook Lights, and it's still something that we're importing. It would be very interesting to have, you know, locals, Africans, actually initiate and produce these products.
Yes, we've had that happen nowadays. We can see it with the startups, the Flutterwave, the Paystacks, the pharmacies, the Childex. People are creating in a way that would impact and help their people. And with this way, they bring a special and unique perspective that is needed only not in Nigeria or Africa, but also globally. And we have to be strategic and intentional about such approaches.
So with this now, what opportunities would you say African designers have?
I would say today's market is completely different compared to when I started my career, like almost 4 years ago. Back then, the opportunities were much easier. You could break in by just passion and connecting with the right people. And while those things matter, the landscape has become much more challenging. For instance, we are seeing an employer's market, we're seeing tougher government policies, especially internationally, and companies are pulling back from hiring internationally. And like a lot of big names, Google, Amazon, Adobe, they've rolled out return to office policies. So international remote roles are much more easier, harder to come by rather. So it's harder, but it's not impossible, meaning that the approach to these opportunities have to change. We have to play a whole different game. And I would say to start with mastering the craft. It is not a time for scattered learning. The competition is fierce. You are competing globally. And so you need to be solid in your skills. Being a generalist can help because companies are looking at people that can wear multiple hats. And even as a specialist, you have to be really grounded in your skills to stand out in your role. And another way is to prove your impact. So employers have to see the impact you've made in previous roles. And truthfully, that would be harder for people starting out in product design, but considering volunteering and interning at even small companies would help to gain this experience and build a track record. And last two things, it's networking intentionally. A lot of jobs nowadays come through referrals. For instance, when a job is posted on LinkedIn, there are like 1,000 applications in the first hour. And a good way to stand out is to know someone in the company that can refer you directly to the recruiting manager. And so that can really help. And leveraging the internet, not just do great work, you have to post your project. I've known people that because of their visibility, by posting their work, they've been hired. So at the end of the day, we African designers can actually compete globally, but we have to be intentional about how we approach it and also how we showcase our work and impact.
Yeah, but when you say it's more difficult, is it because supply is more now? Now you have more individuals who are interested in those international remote work, or is it because it's now more regulated? It's now why it's more difficult?
I would say the supply is more to start with. We saw a big boom with like the startup booms that happened, and also with 2020 happening, a lot of recruiters were looking for people internationally because there was a lot of spike in business and they needed people to also fill in those roles. But nowadays, you are competing with people in those countries that the companies are based in, and you in Africa with your limited resources, your bad internet access also. And so the supply has made it more of an employer's market because the employer can choose anybody out of the amount of people out there applying for their work. So the regulation, on the other hand, like policies coming from the government, also with like tax and all of that, can has also influenced this so far. But a big part, I would say, is the increase in supply of talent compared to the amount of companies out there hiring.
So, looking at it broadly now, how much contribution do you think the continent can expect from this product designing, international remote work, back into the continent? How much contribution?
I would say we have a lot to contribute. We offer a very unique perspective, but I feel like we should start building from home and not just only focus for international remote work. Building internally will help us show the continent and those outside the continent what we are made of, which is very good things. And we can also compete globally with any company out there.
Thank you so much, Mayo Ogungbola, products designer, for your perspective. Wish you the best. Represents Nigeria well where you are.
Thank you very much for having me.